Welcome to the third edition of the Connected Shopfloor Summit, where we gather people to discuss the future of manufacturing.
Thank you for being here today. Huge thank you to Katarina for hosting this event and helping us coordinate all of this. She only knew about that yesterday, so it was very quick. And thank you very much for everyone that was able to join today. And I know the weather was not the best, and sometimes it's hard to get out of work to attend this type of events. We really appreciate that. We appreciate very much the people that were able and allowed us to challenge them to come here and present and do the roundtable and to see presentations that I think are amazing. 𝗳𝗁 for coming from Spain and sharing his knowledge, which I think was very valuable. And of course, his presentation now that we paid with drones so that they could sell us a little bit. It was very important. And of course, a huge thank you to our growth team that has been working quite a bit on this event for a while now, and we were able to bring this together. And hopefully, in the end of this presentation, you guys will have maybe a different opinion about AI and how it can help the manufacturing side. If not, there is a community that we're trying to build. That's the most important part. We're trying to build this connected shop floor community. As we said a few times today, it's the third summit that we are generating, or powering, or sponsoring, whatever you want to call it. And we see each year the value of knowledge that is being shared increase quite a bit. The feedback that we've been receiving has been also very exciting. So hopefully we will also ask for your feedback in the end. That will be the last thing, not today, but we will ask you for that feedback. We really appreciate if you could share with us. Again, we don't charge for these events. We really want to push them forward. So that feedback from you is very important if we are actually adding value and what can we do better for next year, next event, what you guys would like to hear and see. So really appreciate that. Now, a little bit about today's presentation. And I know that I have a little bit of time, so prepare yourselves. No, I'll try not to make this too long. But one of the things that, I love innovation, and that's something that challenged me to open this company was working in the manufacturing side. And we said that today, Gonzalo said that we see AI being used in many different types of services, but in the manufacturing side, we don't see that as much. And that's not just AI, it's everything. For some reason, manufacturing seems to be the latest to adopt to new tools. Even so, the industrial revolutions have been crucial for countries and us as people to grow. So every time we had an industrial revolution, there was a massive productivity gains. We were able to produce more. People had a better quality of life. So manufacturing is crucial for our humanity and for the way we are growing. But even so, there is something that makes us not adopt these tools as quickly. So that's what actually made us start proGrow more than 10 years ago, was very much around the data. So we had that problem with data. And now we have AI coming up, and we see, the whole question that we had here, is it hype or not hype? Is it because sometimes there's a little bit of noise there, and we don't know, is it helpful or not? And in those moments, I love to go back to the basics. And that's a little bit how I would love to start today. Just pushing the cassette back a bit and thinking about the age of discovery. So that's actually really pushing a lot the cassette back. Maybe some people don't know what a cassette is. A lot at proGrow don't know what a cassette is. So that's how old I am. But when we look at the age of discovery, and we Portuguese, we love that. It was a golden age for us a long time ago. But we were Spaniards. You guys also did a good job there, a little bit better than us. And the Englishmen, the French, and others too. One of the things, imagine going out there to the big ocean. People actually believed back then that the Earth might be flat. So we had no idea what's going on. And maybe things at home were not the best, and you preferred to go on a boat somewhere else than being at home. But there was a huge unknown there. And something that really changed for them was to look at and being guided by the stars. And one of the stars is Polaris, which is right at the north of the North Pole, right at the top at the North Pole, and that was the brightest star out there. And that gave some reference compared with the other stars where they should go, if they are further away or not. And that actually coined the term North Star. So now we use North Star as something that guides us, that we don't lose focus on. And that's a little bit the question that we discuss here a lot today about different things, different metrics, even now on our last presentation. And my question to you is, what is the North Star when we think about a factory? So we are on a factory, on shop floor, and what is that North Star for us? I have no doubt, and I have had the chance to work in many different companies, factories throughout the world, and now with proGrow we have seen so many different industries. And regardless of the industry, I think there is one metric, and it's an old one, it's not a sexy one, and we talked about it. I think that metric is OEE, and OEE has been always the most important metric that I have seen in an organization. And what I would love to challenge, and I'm not going to point you out, but is thinking about your factories now and where you work, and knowing if you right now you know what's your OEE, if you know actually what OEE is, or if you know last week's OEE, if you have it right now, what is the section of your factory that has the lowest performing OEE? And if you don't have that information now, the one thing I would love to take out of this presentation is that maybe you think about that a little bit differently. That today might be the last day that you're, okay, I don't care so much about OEE, and that changes a little bit. So if that happens, I have done my job today. If it doesn't, hopefully you had a good time, and we'll have champagne after that, so you'll take something out of this. But when we go back to the North Star and sailing, it was not just only about the star itself, right? There were other factors that came into play. Direction was important, time was important, and of course speed. So that played a huge role in people knowing where they were at the ocean. And something that I love about OEE, and that let's now start to crack this down, is it also has three areas that are very crucial. When you look at OEE, you look at the availability. And very simply is my workstation available? Is my machine available? Are my workers available? Is my team available in order to produce? Sometimes it's not. I have a breakdown. I have a problem. I don't have the materials. Someone is sick. So that's the availability part. Then we look into performance. Performance goes to, I need to produce 10 parts per minute, or per hour, or per week. Am I producing those 10 parts, or only 6, 8, and I'm not at optimal rate? And that, of course, varies from product to product. So it's not as easy and as simple as that. And then sometimes I have new machines and old machines, and I'm producing the same product on different lines. So that has a different impact. So even so the metric is very simple, it can become hard to calculate and trust that metric. And then the last one, of course, is quality. We can do those 10 parts in a minute, but 2 or 3 of them are not good. So that doesn't help. So in the end is it available? Am I producing at the right speed and with the right quality? And all of these three together, they give us the OEE. And we talked today here about implementing a system and suddenly having 8% of efficiency gained. And 8% can be a lot when we are already at a higher level. So that plays a big role. I would like you to give us some examples of companies that we have been working on. One of them is Quantal. They are in the metal industry. And they have gained 2 more days of production per month, only by tweaking a little bit and being focused on OEE. Only by doing that, they have 2 more days per month. So we have 12 months, so 24 days extra, almost, and me selling a little bit, almost 1 more month that they have only by using OEE. Okay, very simple metric. Then after that, we have 𝘃𝗵𝗁𝗁𝘀, which they are in the textile industry. And they are changing to a new facility, but their previous facility, they had a little bit of a layout problem, and they had many different workstations there, people working, and they had a hard time understanding, who is working and not working. And it was very interesting how they almost doubled their productivity. And we were so curious that we went there trying to understand, It cannot be as good. We're not charging enough for this. So let's go and see what's happening. And it was interesting to talk to them and see that they were just telling us, we actually don't, people on the factory saying, we don't understand that well what OEE is, but I know something. The light here has to be green. And if the light is not green, then it's not good. So only that, having something that allows you to know if you're going at the right pace, at the right speed, at the right quality, if it's green, yellow, or red, allow them to be way more careful in what they're doing. And it was not that they were not trying to do a good job before. They had no reference. They had no idea if today was a good or a bad day. I have no idea if it was good or bad. And now they do know. So the people that care, sometimes they care a lot. They are not just given the opportunity to know if they are actually doing a good or a bad job. And we saw that before in the panel we had. People like to have merit and recognition for the work they are doing. And this is also a great way to do that. So it's not always like a tool that it's controlling and giving pressure, which, by the way, I think pressure and control are also not an evil like that. I think they are good. They make us be on our best game if it's controlled, if it's in a positive way, of course. But there can be also a tool that helps you motivate and say, I'm actually doing a good job. So the last one is Simoldes. They have been working with us the longest for, right now, I think 5 years. And it's very interesting, their case. And I would like to dissect that a little bit more. What they did is very interesting. And we talked about OEE before. And Inácio was saying there is a direct correlation between OEE and euros or dollars, whatever you want to call it, money. There's a direct correlation. And what they did this in a different way. They looked into a machine, and this is, of course, not their machine. This is a different machine, but in their case is a plastic injection machine. And they look at the machine and said, how much does this machine cost us? And it's not the cost after the cost of the machine itself. It is already paid for, and after being paid for is how much does it cost me to maintain it. So it's maintenance, electricity, the space it takes, because they are big machines, so they need space. I need to have that space available. And they came to the conclusion that each machine of them costs 85 euros an hour. Okay, so rough numbers. 85 euros an hour that costs to have that machine after being paid for. And then they look at it and said, if I have someone working on that workstation, it's an extra 15 euros an hour. So altogether, it's like 100 euros that we have here per workstation after being paid for. So that's what costs us. Sometimes we're thinking about only the people and we forget about the assets. So what is my infrastructure, the capacity that I have available? So it was very interesting that they were acquiring, they were buying more factories, they were growing there to around 230 plastic injection equipment available, and they decided we will not buy more equipment. We'll actually start reducing equipment. So that was their focus was to reduce them. And you might say, okay, but maybe their revenues were going down. No, they're actually increasing their revenues year after year. So they are selling more, and they are reducing the number of machines that they are using in order to produce. And that's actually producing more with less. So just do a little bit of maths. I noticed like round numbers. They have their own numbers. So this is a little bit round. But if you do 100 times 24 hours, times 30 days, times 12 months, it's a lot, just one machine. And now they reduce 20. So the impact is massive. So with that, we are looking into a more like global perspective. But let's look at a more micro version of it. Let's think that I'm the plant manager right now, and I have to hire a new maintenance manager. The way I would do it, and I know there's firefighting constantly, there's a lot of problems happening, and I have the chance to work quite a bit on the shop floor, so I feel comfortable saying this. The first thing I would do, I would go down and see downtime. How is my downtime? Downtime is the reason that affects availability. Remember, that was the first one. If I'm available, my workstation is available. It's all about downtime and uptime, right? Uptime, I'm producing, great. Downtime, I'm stopped for some reason. And I would go with downtime and see what are the three main causes that my downtime is what it is. And in many cases, like 40% of downtime. And here we can see, for instance, machine 3 has a motor with a problem. We have, say, changeover, always a problem, and doesn't care. I would just see the three main reasons, reoccurring reasons that are happening over and over again. And I would tell that person, your project will be to bring this down from 40% to 30%. 10 points, which is a lot. And that would be a clear direction to someone. That would be someone that could have a bonus, a recognition, and it would be very clear daily what is happening. So that's why I love this metric so much. And with that, you have other. You can go for a production supervisor. You can look at the production supervisor and performance. And then you might start saying, okay, but you have the maintenance guy, he is focused on availability. Then you might have the production guy, he is focused on performance. And then quality comes in, and they are focused on quality. And maybe not all of them are aligned. Maybe there are different angles here. And that's why OE is so important. That's why OE is the North Star. That's why the whole organization needs to be contributing in order for the OE to be up. Because it's exactly the three of them working together. And that's the fun about production and operations, is you have many different moving parts, many different teams, and you have to get them aligned, or else it would not be fun. It would be just somewhere with no sun. So that's the fun part. And here, of course, we always have the salespeople coming up and saying, hey, I have this massive, awesome project that we should do. And then production says, that's not possible, that will be a nightmare. Once again, if we master OEE, if we know this, if we can model the impact, if we know, for instance, the last time we launched a product, we had a lot of more breakages. The last time we launched a product, from changing from product A to B was a lot more because we did not know complexity and so forth. It took us so long to get to the baseline. If we know that, we can model it and know what will be the payback of launching this new product or doing this adaptation. Is there a return on investment or not? We know that there are clients that sometimes have to do the costing of a project, and they have a hard time knowing how much it costs them to produce their product. So they are putting a price on a product, and they don't really know what is the cost of producing it. It's like going to a restaurant. It happens a lot in restaurants. Restaurants don't know which meals are more expensive or more profitable to them. And even the waiters that are there, they should know whenever you ask what's good. If it's a good waiter, he will know what's the best for the restaurant. He will say, yeah, you should have the chicken and rice, bellissimo, because it's the best, right, for them. But most of the restaurants don't know. You actually might have a lot of people say, everything is good. It's all awesome. And that will tell, this restaurant really doesn't know what are the best place for you. Or they are really super honest, and it's awesome. But unfortunately, the world doesn't work that way always. So, now, going back to why don't we have OE always available? What is the headache? Why don't we know it right now and we have it on our fingertips? There's many reasons why it happened in the past. I come from that period. We had massive projects. It would take a long time to implement, very costly. We didn't know in the end how the tools work, if it actually worked. There were a lot of people selling air as it would be gold. So there is a lot of different reasons for it. But right now, I think that changed. We, at least, have been working a lot on changing that. Now you can actually carry your factory in your pocket. So there is no other reason for not having that at your fingerprints. The information will be available to you very quickly. It's as simple as having an app. You just download the app, you have the information available. That's how simple it is right now. We still need to connect, and we talked about that today, OT and IT, and I love that question. We're actually, has been one of the things that we have been working the most out of this 10, 11 years, is how can we reduce installation time? It would take us 1 month to install one machine. Right now, we do it in 30 minutes. We had WeDrone saying that we showed them how to do one machine, and they were amazing. They did the remaining machines very quickly. It is as simple as installing an IoT device. And the magic happens afterwards. So afterwards, we just connect to that IoT. We do the whole magic behind us, making sure the IoT is securely connecting with us. We use wireless, so no cables, not a lot of infrastructure. Before we had to invest so much in infrastructure, hardware, and so forth. All of that is gone. There is no more edge computing. Everything is computed in the cloud, so the effort doesn't need to be local. And in the end, we have the signals popping up, a little bit like a heartbeat. We see the machine alive, and that's how it's done. But something that we have been also working a lot is, one of the main factors is I need to reduce friction, and it needs to be very simple to install a machine. It cannot be a whole project where I have these massive consultants doing all the the assessment, and it takes so long. In half an hour, I can have a machine available. If I have 20 machines, that's like 10 hours. So 1.5 days, and I'll have my factory online. So if we don't have 1.5 days, if we don't have that available, then we really don't want to have that. So, but after that, we started struggling also with the second part, is that we see more and more and more that people, and we said that before, we have a lot of data. Data is available. But more than that, I want to have solutions. And we talked about being predictive and what's happening, what is the next solution out there. So I don't want people telling me what happened on OEE yesterday. It was 56% or 54%. I want to understand where is the problem and what should I do in order to improve. That's what I want. And that's what we have also developed. And we are launching that today. We'll develop an app where you can literally ask the app what is happening. So just open the app and you ask, what's my OEE? And he will tell you what's OEE, he or she or it. I don't know what the app is. But we'll give you the feedback back. That's what I wanted to see. And you might ask, what's the OEE? Or you might get into more details. You might ask, what's the OEE of line 5, for instance, machine 5? And after that, you can also say, drill down and give me more information. What was the reason for that downtime? And it will explain to you what the reason was. It was because of certain stoppages, changeovers, and so forth. So no more long reports, Excels, trying to shift from dashboard to dashboard. You're just asking, and you might compare it with anything. Compare me this with last month, with last year, with product A. Last time we launched a new product A. How was our OEE affected? All of those questions can be asked. And in the end, we can also say, let's explore more metrics. Let's see what can we do in order to improve. And that information will be available. The app will give you more and more recommendations based on the data that they have available. So more data we get inside the app, to more knowledge it will be coming out. And if you don't believe that, I ask you just to download the app. You don't have to do any logins, so you can just scan the QR code, scan it, and ask very quickly, what's happening? And the app will ask, it's a demo, of course, it's a demo figures, and it will give you the information. And play with it a little bit, and let us know what else you would love that app to answer, what is the rest of the information you wanted to have. We are now working on making this as intelligent as possible, as proactive as possible, so giving the future is you don't even ask it, and it will go to you and say, hey, something happened. Line 3 for the last 2 days is going, its performance is going down. These are the main reasons why it's going down. This is what we think you should be doing in order to pick it back up. So that's what we're working. We are super excited with what the future holds. And hopefully you will also like it and use it as much as possible. So please use it. Let us know what you think. And hopefully you had a good time, and hopefully OEE will be in your mind when you go back home and think, why don't I know that? And why don't I have that in my fingertips? Thank you very much.
Join our connected shop floor communities on LinkedIn and Reddit. And subscribe our channels.